Hi, this is Marla with Mad About Cards and Crafts. Welcome back to another CottageCutz YouTube video. Today I'm featuring two cards using the Christmas Tree Peekers die. This is part of the Christmas release, part 1, available now in the Scrap and Cottage. Here's a look at that die set. It is a single die that has all of the images. I cut mine out of white cardstock and did the coloring off camera for both of my cards today. I also have the Merry Christmas with Shadow die from last year's release. This amazing alpha, wait till you see how cute this is. It's called Stitched Alphabet. The nested doilies, and then I have the Snowflake background Slimline. I'm going to be using the snowflakes that cut out of this panel. Do not throw those away if you have this die. You can get so many different types of looks and uses out of this die set. So I'm starting with a piece of white cardstock. This is what is going to house my images. So I'm cutting the largest doily and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine. Once I finish with that, I'm going to set it aside and we're going to start building our card using pattern paper. I love pattern paper with Christmas cards. I tend to hoard my pattern paper, and I wanted to show how you could dress up this die by adding different patterns to the background. So I have an A2 top folding card panel, and I've cut down this piece of blue damask paper to 4 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches. I'll use my tape runner to add adhesive to the back of it, and I'll add it to the bottom of my card. I mismeasured in my mind. I thought I needed a 2 1/2 by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock, so this is actually a 1/2 inch longer than what I needed. I'm using this poinsettia cardstock. Now there is some of that same blue that was in that damask pattern paper. They came from 2 different paper pads, but I thought that they coordinated very well. I added the adhesive to the back of it, and I just decided to overlap it on top of that damask. Because I have that seam there, I was going to cover it up anyway with some ribbon. So instead of trimming it down, I just went ahead and overlapped it. For the covering of the seam, you could use another piece of pattern paper, maybe a solid piece of cardstock. I tend to be into ribbons these days, so I am going to add this green ribbon to that seam. Once I cover up that seam, I'm going to use a die from my stash. This is another Slimline die. I wanted the pattern that was on this Slimline die on the left and the right side of this polka dot paper, and I'm going to run it through my die cut machine so that I can get that impression on both sides. Again, just adding a little bit more interest to the panel. I went with the green ribbon because there are slight tones of green in the leaves on the poinsettia, and then there's also some green in the polka dot. So rather than going with the expected blue or maybe the pink ribbon, I went with one of the colors that were less prominent, and I added that to that seam, and I think that it helps it stand out just a little bit more and gives this a little bit of a pop. As I mentioned, I did have those snowflakes that were from the Snowflake background Slimline. I added those to the back of my doily, giving it a little bit more interest, and then I added foam tape to the center of my pink Christmas tree. So again, going with the unexpected, instead of the traditional green, I went with a pink Christmas tree, and then I added green ornaments that I Copic colored. For card number 1, I am going to place most of the images where they were in the packaging. So the Santa is going to be peeking around the right side of the tree, and the reindeer will be peeking from the left side. I did want to mention that I will be giving this die away in my next video. In order to qualify for the giveaway for a chance to win this adorable die, all you need to do is be a subscriber to the channel, make sure that you like the video, and leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Which one of these two cards is your favorite? We do have a winner from the last giveaway, which was the baseball with shadow die, and that would be Kim Bacard. So Kim, congratulations. You are the lucky winner. I will have Mary Marcia's information linked in the description box below. Just send her an email and let her know that you are the winner. While I was chatting, I did attach my bow to the left side. I added my penguin to the bottom of the Christmas tree. Underneath my doily, I'm going to add my Merry Christmas with shadow. So I cut the shadow out using some pink pattern paper, and I cut the Merry Christmas from white cardstock. All right, I wanted to add one of these snowflakes to the bow, so I'm layering up. There's 3 different types of snowflakes when you cut out the Slimline die. There's a smaller little piece that you can layer on top of the snowflakes, and that's what I did right there. Is I just added that, offset that smaller one on top of the larger snowflake. I'm adding some glue to the back of it, and then I'll use my reverse tweezers to hold it in place until it dries. Once it dries, I'm going to add some rhinestones to all of my snowflakes. I thought that it would give it a little bit more sparkle and shine. You saw that I did use wet glue to adhere my bow. Typically I don't do that. Typically I would use a hot glue for that, but instead I chose to go with the wet glue, and then I just set it aside to dry for a while. To add some gloss to my ornaments, I'm going to add this Nouveau. It's kind of like glossy accents. I think it's called something like Mountain Dew. And I add that. It's a clear one. But I still felt that we were missing a little bit of something on the Christmas tree. So I cut some more of those little bulbs out of some silver cardstock. I thought that the top had enough Christmas bulbs, but the bottom needed some more. And then I also cut the star out of that silver foil cardstock, and I'm going to add it to the top. I'm going to add some more of that glossy accents to each of my bulbs, and that will complete card number 1. For card number 2, I have an A2 side folding card base. So I went with a different style of a card base for this one. And I'm using a stencil. This is a plaid stencil that I'm using from my stash, and I'm just adding it to the center of this card panel. I'm not going all the way to the edge, and I'm going to be honest, I was really a little bit lazy here. So with this layer, the stencil is a little bit flimsy, and it would have been much more prominent. I would have gotten better stenciling had I used some pixie spray with that, but because I'm covering the majority up, I wasn't too worried, and I didn't start over. You can see that I did use those stitched alphabets. Aren't those adorable? The shape of them are so cute and perfect for Christmas cards. So I mentioned that we were going to be using several of the same products. What I did is I used some of the scraps from that pattern paper that I used on card number 1, and I used my stitched alphabet die to cut out the letters. Once I got the letters cut out using the pattern paper, I cut them 2 more times, so there's 3 layers deep of the letters that are stacked together to give that chipboard feel. I used white cardstock. From that, I didn't use the pattern paper, so I have 2 layers of white cardstock, and then I added the pattern paper letter over the top. I colored up my Christmas tree green and gave it a pink star. This time I chose not to add any of the ornaments to my tree, and I'm using my T-square ruler to help me align my word that says season. As you can see, my plan is to place the penguin there between the A and the S, and because you know what the sentence reads, "'Tis the season," it's having it over those 2 letters is not going to change the way that your mind reads, and it's going to add just a little bit of interest. So I'm adding my "'tis," and once I get to the S, I have colored the reindeer. This time I added Santa's cap to the reindeer. I'm not using Santa on the card today, and I'm going to have the reindeer peeking out from behind the letter S. I'll add that hoof, and we're using this in a different way. So again, we're using the pattern paper, we're using the same die, and I think that, and we're also using the snowflakes, and I think that this would be really fun to mass produce. Now the letters take a little time to put together, but I think if you just spent a day building up all of the letters and then another day just coloring, I just think this card is absolutely adorable. And you could use the Santa around the Christmas tree if you wanted to. I wanted to keep it pretty simple, but I liked the way that you're able to use those peaking elements on different items. So here I've used it around the alphabets. Again, I'm going to use those snowflakes as I mentioned, and then again I'm going to use those rhinestones to give it a little bit more bling. I'll trim off any of the excess that I have of those snowflakes, and once I do that, that will complete my card for today. We're so excited to be bringing you the new Christmas release. There's going to be tons of inspiration here on the channel. I'm going to have my friend Jen's video linked at the end of this video. If you missed it, you want to go back and watch it. She created an absolutely adorable Christmas card using some of the Christmas puppies from the release. We also have a blog that's available to you that's going to have even more inspiration. All of that and our Instagram account will be linked in the description box below. All right, here's where I'm adding that last bit of bling to my card. I will show you a couple of close-ups of both of these cards. Please let me know, as I mentioned in the comment box, which one of the two cards is your favorite. I hope you enjoyed this process today, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for watching.